Oh, we back. Day 10 of the 28 Days of Black History Month. Basically tonight what I wanted to do, originally I was going to do the Thomas Jennings video. But then I started realizing all this stuff about his life and some of the situations that were going on at the time that I had no idea about. So I definitely wanted to delve more so into that and just do more research and get into it more and learn about a lot of this stuff. I won't spoil anything. I'll save it for the video, but it's pretty I had no idea a lot of the stuff that was going down went down, and I had no idea outside of him being an inventor, like he had such a full life. Like he was like this activist, and like his background was very interesting for the time. His family's background, his wife, like just his kids, like all of it. It was just very sad but interesting. I had no idea a lot of this stuff was going on during the time, so definitely look forward to that. I'm looking forward to even talking about it and wrapping my head around some of that stuff. So yeah, I'll probably do it sometime this week. But tonight, what I wanted to do is, I know before I spoke about John Henry. I did a Black American folktale video a while ago, and I kind of wanted to delve back into it. Like I was reading up on some more of them, and I kind of wanted to do another. So tonight I think I'm going to read John Henry for you guys. So yeah, I might as well just jump in. Let's see. John Henry. John Henry was a real live man, and the basis of this story is almost certainly the truth. But it is such a good story that many different states in the USA claim John Henry as their native son. Here is his story retold from folklore and inspired by the stories of Tyrone Wilkerson. Working on the American railroads, laying track was hard work. But the pay was good, and the men took pride in what they did, laying the shining rails that would connect all parts of the nation. And the finest man ever to lay track was John Henry. Some folks say John Henry was born in Mississippi, others say Tennessee, but wherever he came from, he was a mighty, mighty man. He laid track for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad. When the heavy wooden ties were laid on the prepared rail bed, iron rails were set in place on top of them. The men with 12-pound, long-handled hammers drove iron spikes to hold the rails on the ties, the way a nail holds two boards together. The men worked in fours to drive the spikes. They stood in a circle, each hitting the spike once, then raising his huge hammer while the other three hit the spike once each. When the men got going, the hammers hit 4 times in a second and rang like church bells. When the hammers were ringing, the men sometimes sang in rhythm with them. John Henry had the most beautiful bass voice, and the men often asked him to sing as they worked. Ladies from whatever town they were near would come out to the railroad just to hear John Henry sing. But John Henry didn't do more than smile at the pretty ladies, because he had the prettiest wife in the countryside. Her name was Polly, and John Henry always called her Pretty Polly. Pretty Polly could cook the sweetest sweet potato pie, and then go down to the railroad, pick up a hammer, and drive spikes in her husband's place when he got sick. This only happened once in 1872, but it was still really good. When the C&O Railroad got to the mountains of West Virginia, the men had to dig a tunnel through the rock of the mountain. To break the solid rock, they used big drills powered by a steam engine that made a deep hole in the stone. Then they put dynamite in the hole and blasted the rock away. Finally, the men used their hammers and drove big iron spikes 3 feet long into the rock to break it away and open up a tunnel. The work was hard and slow. One day, the boss of the track laying crew bought in a special steam-powered drill that could drive spikes with a heavy metal arm. It worked like a man with a hammer. The boss told the men the railroad company wasn't happy with how long the work was taking and had sent this steam drill, which ran on the rails as it laid them. The man of the track laying crew were angry that the railroad officials had brought in a steam hammer. If the steam hammer worked faster than they could, they might all be out of jobs. They might all lose their jobs. Most of the men had families and needed this work badly. They all turned to John Henry. If anyone could save them, he could. John Henry picked up his hammer and walked slowly over to the track where two rails lay in place, waiting to be fastened with spikes. John Henry stood and watched as the steam hammer was slowly rolled along the rails and up to the first undriven spike. John Henry took the right side of the track, and the steam hammer was set in place along the left side of the track. The boss threw the lever that started the steam hammer, and John Henry swung his hammer high in the air and brought it down on the spike. The steam hammer huffed and puffed, and the metal arm rose and fell with a dull thud, so fast it sounded like the rumble of distant thunder. John Henry swung his hammer faster and faster till sparks shot off the iron spikes like lightning, and the steel hammer rang out like giant silver bells. John Henry's sweaty body glowed like he was made of gold in the light of the lanterns in the tunnel. 10 spikes had been driven, 5 by the steam hammer and 5 by John Henry. Then 100 had been driven, 46 by the steam hammer and 54 by John Henry. Then 200 spikes had been driven, 91 by the steam hammer and 109 by John Henry. Slowly John Henry pulled ahead. When the steam hammer had laid 9 feet of track and John Henry had laid 14 feet, the boss shut the steam engine off. John Henry had won. But he had worked so hard, his great heart burst from the strain, and he died with his hammer in his hand. He was buried in the tunnel right where he died. And when the trains go by his grave, they always blow their whistle in a long, low, sad call that sounds like the words, "There lies a still driving man." John Henry, the song. Resung from folklore and inspired by songs of Tyrone Wilkinson. Oh God, am I about to sing? I was not prepared for this. This is actually my first time reading through this, y'all. Like, I think my only interaction with the John Henry story was the animation or the animated film that they did, that I think Disney did. So yeah, this is actually my first time reading through it too. Singing, I mean, brother got pipes. I wasn't prepared, but you know, I'll hum through it. I'll give you that. John Henry. Oh, I don't even know what we doing. He sung from folklore and inspired by the song of Tyrone Wilkinson. John Henry, he could hammer, he could whistle, he could sing, he could. I'm trying to pick up the rhythm of it. I'm sure it's really old, obviously. Okay. John Henry, he could hammer, he could whistle, he could sing. He would whistle up every morning. I feel like I'm rapping now. See, I don't know. I'll just read it. John Henry, he could hammer, he could whistle, he could sing. He could whistle up every morning just to hear his hammer ring. When John Henry was a little baby, sitting on his daddy's knee, he picked up a hammer, a little piece of steel, said, "This hammer be the death of me. Lord, Lord, hammer be the death of me." When John Henry's family needed money, said he didn't have but a dime. "If you wait until the red sun goes down, I'll get it from the man in the mine. Lord, Lord, I get it from the man in the mine." Well, John Henry went to the captain. The captain said, "What can you do?" "I can heist a jack, I can lay your track, I can pick and shovel too. Lord, Lord, I can pick and shovel too." The captain said to John Henry, I'm going to bring me a drill round. I'm going to bring me a drill round out of town. I'm going to thud the steel on down. Lord, Lord, hub that steel on down." John Henry said to the captain, a man ain't nothing but a man. Before I let you sting the drill, beat me down, I die with my hammer in my hand. Lord, Lord, die with my hammer in my hand. Well, John Henry drove into the mountain. His hammer was striking. His hammer was striking fire. He drove so hard, his poor heart broke. He laid down his hammer and died. Lord, Lord, down his hammer and laid down his hammer and he died. And John Henry went on up to heaven, and they buried him in the sand. And every lonesome stranger that passes by says, there lies a still driving man. Lord, Lord, there lies a still driving man. There lies a still driving man. Lord, Lord, there lies a still driving man. Oh, wow. Okay. I like that. And they have like a little illustration of John Henry. I love this book. I really love this book. And of course, I'm reading from the African American Folktales for Young Readers. But again, like, these stories are ours. These are, Black American. They have others inspired from other cultures and things too. But yeah, John Henry is a Black American folktale. And I loved it. Just the themes of, he's a superhero. He definitely was a superhero. He definitely was like fighting for his peers and really like not allowing, just thinking of the times, not allowing the powers that be replace them and essentially starve them. Starve these families. These men are on this railroad, like, working for their families. This is what, after slavery, like right after slavery. They're building the railroads, probably during slavery, because I know they were working on the railroads during slavery too. Timeline wise, I can't really say in terms of where the story fits into that. But yeah, like, he died so that these men could work, which that theme in itself, standing up to the powers that be, fighting against the machine, yeah, definitely a story to live by. Definitely a story to live by. A good, solid man, loved amongst his peers, loving wife, hard-working man, taking, every day as it comes and just doing his work and standing on the right side of history, doing what's right, fighting for justice and all of that. I love this story. It's such a great story. And he did what he could. He used his talents. He used what he was good at. Whether it be his strength or whether it be his voice, During those days when they were working on the railroad, he had one of the best voices around, and he used it to bring joy. You know what I mean? Which, when you think about just our ancestors and stuff working on those railroads, or going back into the fields and all of that, like, music was always important. You know what I mean? Doing that work. Music got us through. Music, in a lot of ways, was all we had outside of each other. You know what I mean? So, just a beautiful thing. This is a great story. This is a great story. I really enjoyed this. And I hope you guys did too. I'm sure you guys did. I mean, how could you not, right? And it's ours. It's ours. With that being said, y'all, happy Black American History Month. I love y'all. And I'll be talking to y'all tomorrow. Peace.